The giant inverted boomerang is one of Vekoma's most intense coasters. This ride takes the layout of a boomerang, gives it inverted trains, adds vertical spikes, and scales it to nearly hyper heights. While this ride is undeniably action-packed, it is highly problematic, which is why so few were built. This review will discuss the ride's complicated history and the on-ride experience. In the mid-1980s, Vekoma developed the Boomerang model. This was a compact looping coaster where guests would travel backwards up a lift hill and be released forwards into a layout with a cobra roll and vertical loop. They would then hit a second lift hill, and this time, they would be released backwards in the layout they just experienced, hence the name Boomerang. This ride was not the smoothest, but it was highly marketable, so nearly 6 installations were added to parks across the globe. In the mid-1990s, Vekoma debuted the Invertigo model. This took the layout of a boomerang, but turned it into an inverted coaster. The first installation was supposed to open in Liseberg in 1996, but it was delayed until 1997. The ride was originally meant to have an LIM-LSM lift hill, but difficulties with the technology led to the ride having a standard chain lift like the regular boomerangs. 3 other Invertigo coasters would be built. One went to California's Great America in 1998, one went to Six Flags America in 1999, and one went to Kings Island also in 1999. The latter is the only one still operating in its original home. The others were removed due to a series of issues. This included valleying, and most notably on Two-Face in 2007, a hydraulic fluid leak sprayed passengers. Rather than correcting the Invertigo model first, Vekoma ambitiously started offering the giant inverted boomerang. This ride would feature 2 vertical spikes and far greater heights, as it would stand a whopping 194 feet, or 59 meters in height. Six Flags immediately purchased 4 of these coasters. 3 would be installed stateside in 2001. They were fittingly all named Deja Vu. 1 went to Six Flags Magic Mountain, 1 went to Six Flags Great America, and 1 went to Six Flags Over Georgia. These rides were supposed to be ready early in the 2001 season, but they were plagued with issues and didn't open until the fall. The 4th opened with the brand new Warner Bros. Movie World Park in Spain in 2002, and it would be named Stuntfall. The ride was originally supposed to be given a Twister theme, but it was instead given a generic stunt theme. It would be nearly a decade until additional giant inverted boomerangs were built. Jinjiang Action Park in China added the giant inverted boomerang in 2011. Then Sochi Park in Russia added Quantum Leap in 2014. None of these have been built since, and the ride currently is not listed on Vekoma's website under available products. None of the ones that started off in the Six Flags chain are still operated by them. Six Flags Great America's Deja Vu was removed in 2007. It's a rare hand-me-down that this park didn't give to Six Flags America. That is usually this park's dumping ground. It instead was sold to Silverwood and reassembled as Aftershock for the 2008 season. Silverwood reportedly spent $3 million to acquire the ride, reassemble it, and have it refurbished to run more reliably. And assuming the weather is cooperative, the ride has had less mechanical issues than it ever did at Great America. Six Flags Over Georgia's Deja Vu was removed in 2007 as well. This one was sold to Mirabilandia in Brazil, where it has been sitting in storage for years, but the park still has plans to reassemble it. Six Flags Magic Mountain's Deja Vu was removed in 2011. It was sent across the country to Six Flags New England, where it would operate as Goliath. This move always shocked me for 2 reasons. 1, this park already had a normal boomerang in Flashback, and Goliath was placed right next to Flashback, no less. 2, this ride has issues in low temperatures, which happen quite frequently in New England. Ultimately, this ride operated intermittently through the 2019 season. It was then left standing but not operating in 2020 and 2021 before being scrapped. Stuntfall still operates in its original park, but Warner Bros. Movie World was eventually sold to Parques Reunidos, who now operate the park as Parque Warner Madrid. So why the game of hot potato with this ride? While they were impressive from a statistical, on-ride and marketability perspective, these rides are temperamental and mechanical nightmares. The Six Flags ones were so problematic that it helped drive Vekoma towards bankruptcy in 2001. Fortunately, the Dutch manufacturer is still in business today and doing better than ever. So what were the issues with these rides? The biggest issues seem to be related to the catch car. The older boomerangs and Invertigo coasters use a chain lift to haul the train up the second spike. The giant inverted boomerang used a far more complex catch car system. For the train to properly latch onto it, the catch car needs to be in motion to catch the train. If the timing is off, the train can valley. I had trouble finding a source to verify this, but I vaguely remember hearing back when Stuntfall opened that the front row was deliberately kept empty to improve catch car engagement. If anyone could verify that, I'd love to know. I believe the catch car is the main reason these rides cannot operate in the rain. This cable-driven system is prone to slipping. But that's not the only place this ride can valley. It can also stall on the Cobra Roll. That's why there's a giant evacuation platform up there. I think that's one of the reasons this ride cannot operate in high winds nor low temperatures. Speaking to the one that used to be at Six Flags New England and Aftershock at Silverwood, these rides needed to be at least 60 degrees Fahrenheit minimum to open. And as you may suspect, this is an issue at the start and end of the season for these two parks. Aftershock is not even on the available ride list for the park's Scarywood Halloween event. Six Flags New England would still try to get theirs open in the spring and fall, but it couldn't consistently run outside of the summer months. I imagine some of the other installations have had less issues in this department, particularly the one over in Spain. But I am curious how often the one in Russia is able to run given that country's climate. These rides also do not have the best capacity. These are shuttle coasters, and they operate with just one train. This is a sizable train at least, as it seats 32 riders with 8 rows of 4. Beyond that, the ride does not have the most convenient loading. The Vekoma trains have staggered V-shaped rows. There are 2 seats in the middle side by side. Then the end seats are on each side, raised back a bit. To access those end seats, you have to cross in front of the middle seats. This is confusing for guests, and it can be a tight squeeze fitting past the middle seats once someone is already seated. To mitigate this issue, Six Flags New England hired Premier Rides to give Goliath a new train. This was another perplexing decision. Not only was it not one of their rides, but Premier had never even made an inverted coaster of any kind. This train did admittedly simplify the load procedure, as all seats in each row were now side by side, but they caused some major issues with the on-ride experience, and I'll get to those later. These trains also rectified another issue. I believe they sat lower. On the Vekoma trains, early testing revealed that taller guests could theoretically reach up and touch the track. To prevent this, metal bars were added on the side that stopped riders from raising their arms. Both the Premier and Vekoma trains feature bulky over-the-shoulder restraints. These are not my favorites. They are firm and get really close to your ears, so any headbanging really hurts a lot in this ride. For this reason, this is one of the few coasters where I willingly choose to remove my glasses for comfort reasons. But I'll talk more about that later. Then there's an external seatbelt for redundancy. Loading is particularly slow in Aftershock because there's an additional seatbelt across the lap of most guests. This cannot be checked after the restraint is lowered. Therefore, the employees first need to perform a seatbelt check before the restraints can be lowered. As a result, the line for this one can take a bit if you visit on a busy weekend. I believe this lap belt was in all the US versions, but it was not present on Stuntfall. I'm not sure about the remaining 2 though. Speaking of lines, you definitely want to avoid Stuntfall at Parque Warner immediately after the Police Academy stunt show ends. The exit for this stunt show is right next to the entrance of Stuntfall, so people flood into this ride's queue afterwards. It is a similar effect to what you see at a SeaWorld park after a big show ends. Stuntfall is the most theming of any giant inverted boomerang, but there still isn't much. There's just some signage in the queue line about stunt work. You will not find any theming on the other ones. These rides do look imposing though. No one can argue that. The scale of these rides is unbelievable, and those vertical spikes are monstrous. Stuntfall has blue track and yellow supports. It's an okay paint scheme. I prefer the colors of the ones that have been in the United States. These ones all have bright green track and blue supports. It's a bold choice, and I love how eye-catching it is. Once checked, you are pulled backwards up the vertical spike. This cable lift is swift, and it's quite frightening too. You lean forwards, staring at the ground. Your body weight is fully supported by the harness. Once you reach the top, you are immediately released, and this drop is incredible. It feels more akin to a drop tower. I think part of the reason is it's suspenseful when you'll be released. You get a great free fall sensation while also getting floater airtime as well. You float a bit more in versions like Stunfall that do not have that extra lap belt. This drop is better further back in the train because you're hoisted higher up the tower. This is the main reason I prefer to ride most of these in the back row. The transition out of this element is intense. The pull-out in the station is super sharp. You are thrown back in your seat pretty violently, experiencing crushing positive Gs. Then you get an intense sense of speed flying through the station. This is exciting off-ride too, because you are pummeled by a gust of wind. You then have a large Cobra roll. The entry into it offers another strong dose of positive Gs. Then there are two snaps. The first is more abrupt up front, but the second is snappier in the back. That's especially true on the edge seats. You are pulled down so sharply they'll get a little airtime. Now these two flips are my biggest issue with this ride. Each transition can cause a light bash to the head. They're joltier in the edge seats. Now the headbanging is not plentiful, but the combination of the hard restraints and intensity make it uncomfortable, more so than it would be otherwise. The subsequent pullout offers another nice dose of positives. Next comes a vertical loop. The front is pushed through it, holding the positive Gs constant. The back is yanked down the second half of it, and again, they will lightly get lifted out of their seat. The pullout again maintains the positive Gs. Then comes the second spike. There's a slight hitch as the train engages the catch car. Then you're smoothly pulled to the top as you stare into the sky. Hopefully it's not a sunny day. Towards the top, you slow down ever so briefly. Then you're released backwards. It offers some floater airtime, but it doesn't offer the free fall sensation of the first. I don't think you get that because you're not staring at the ground. That's why I find the forwards drop more effective overall. The pullout is equally as intense as the first though, as you slam back into the seat from the high positive Gs. The vertical loop is more intense this time around, as you carry more speed through it. It has great positive Gs the whole way through. The Cobra roll does not offer any airtime this time around, but the natural back is pushed into it. You really crawl through the middle portion though, so I can see why this ride sometimes valleys. But the train regains speed after the second flip, and the natural front is pulled downwards. But as with the forward direction, you can hit your head here, and it's similarly unpleasant, especially with the dizziness of traveling backwards this time around. You then whiz through the station and climb halfway up the initial spike. The catch car grabs on, noticeably jolting the train. You then pause for a second or two high in the air, helplessly dangling into your restraint. It's pretty freaky. You then slowly lower back down to the station, ending the coaster. Now these rides are powerhouses. They are forceful and disorienting start to finish. The experience I just described applies to the giant inverted boomerangs running Vekoma trains. As a whole, the ride tracks well, minus the flips in the Cobra roll. But what about Six Flags New England's Goliath when it had the premier trains? The forces I described throughout this review still held true, but add in a whole lot of roughness. I absolutely loved the vertical drops, but everything else was an endurance test, and not a good one. The initial pullout could squash your nuts from the restraint profiling. The valleys would jitter profusely, causing additional headbanging. Then the train would jolt around the Cobra roll, even more so than with the Vekoma trains, adding some back slams along with the headbanging. The front seat was much more tolerable, but the roughness increased exponentially further back in the train, and unfortunately, seating was assigned in this coaster, so you only had a 1 in 8 chance of coming off not in major pain. So what would I rate the Vekoma giant inverted boomerang? I would give the versions run Vekoma trains a 6.5 out of 10. This is a wild coaster. The vertical drops are fantastic. Then the inversions and valleys offer strong positive Gs. I just don't find it the most comfortable experience when you combine those restraints with the intensity and few bits of headbanging. I admittedly am not as high in these coasters as other enthusiasts, but I still respect them for what they are. They are super intense, and I would take them over a regular Boomerang, without a doubt. As for Goliath at Six Flags New England, this one earned a 2 out of 10 with the Premier Trains. It's a shame how rough this ride got with the new trains. It spoiled an otherwise fun ride experience. I still genuinely love the vertical drops, but I dread everything else about it. So those are my thoughts on the Vekoma Giant Inverted Boomerang. What are your thoughts on this coaster model? Are you a bigger fan of it than me? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I would appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you consider subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.